One of the things I loved about parenting in those early years was being with my kids when they experienced things for the first time. It was just fun to experience simple things kind of through a fresh set of eyes. And I remember the first time we took them to a parade, I kind of was watching it through their eyes and thinking, what is going on here? Why would these companies spend so much time and money getting these parade floats done up to drive by people and throw candy at them? And it kind of seemed odd. And so, what is going on? Why do the companies do this? Like, are they bored? Do they have extra money they don't know what to do with? What's happening?
Well, I think it's safe to say the answer to both those questions is no.
Never.
But they do it for exposure. They want to be seen, understood, and called upon in a time of need. So it's a marketing strategy, essentially. And it depends on a company's message being conveyed loud and clear.
That's exactly what's going on. And in our passage today, we see a parade of sorts. Jesus, he's riding into Jerusalem, and knowing a crowd is waiting, he sends them this message loud and clear. And our passage today begins with the phrase, the next day. The day after what?
This was the day after the dinner party where Jesus was anointed. So Jesus has just been anointed, something that's done to indicate kingship. And it's the week before the Feast of the Passover, so political tension is running high. And Jesus has recently raised Lazarus from the dead. So excitement, tension, anticipation, it's all running at fever pitch.
Yeah, and then the crowd waiting for Jesus picks up palm branches, the Jewish nation's national symbol, and they start shouting Hosanna, which essentially means save now.
So they shout Hosanna, and they begin reciting the words of Psalm 118, which was part of this group of Psalms, Psalm 113 to 18, that's called the Egyptian Hallel. And these were the songs that Jewish pilgrims would sing as they journeyed towards Jerusalem for the Passover.
Yeah, so the crowd recites the part of Psalm 118 that says, "Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord, even the King of Israel." So other times when the Jews tried to crown Jesus King of Israel, he withdrew and retreated. But this time he gets on a donkey and rides into Jerusalem to those very cheers.
In quoting the 118th Psalm, the Jewish people were saying that this is the day that this psalm was looking forward to, the day of rejoicing that the Lord had made, the day when salvation came to them. And Jesus agrees. This is the day that the Lord has made, and their salvation was indeed coming to them.
But it wasn't going to come quite like they thought it would. They were thinking of a warlike king who would throw off the oppression of Rome. But Jesus rode in on a donkey, and if the religious leaders were watching him as closely as they always were, they watched Jesus and heard echoes of the prophet Zechariah. In chapter 9, verse 9 and 10, it says, "Rejoice greatly, O daughter of Zion. Shout, daughter of Jerusalem. See, your king comes to you, righteous and having salvation, gentle and riding on a donkey, on a colt, the foal of a donkey. I will take away the chariots from Ephraim and the war horses from Jerusalem, and the battle bow will be broken. He will proclaim peace to the nations. His rule will extend from sea to sea and from the river to the ends of the earth."
Jesus was clearly sending the message to those along the parade route that he was their king. He was bringing salvation, but through peace, not war.
And this king was coming in humility, not in a display of power. And once again, these people, they are looking for physical, they're looking for earthly salvation brought in by a king that is wearing a victor's crown. And in less than a week, they will see their king wearing a crown, but it will be a very different kind of crown than they were expecting. And Jesus, he was going to be to them what they needed, not what they wanted. And so what did they need?
They needed spiritual salvation more than physical. And way back in Genesis 49, Jacob prophesied as he lay dying that tribute would come to the tribe of Judah through one whose robes would be washed in the blood of grapes, the wine of the new covenant.
This crowd was made up of people who had either seen Jesus raise Lazarus from the grave with their own eyes, or they'd heard the eyewitness testimony from those who'd been there. And they examined the evidence and declared Jesus king. And it's sober to realize that these same people who wanted to crown Jesus king after he performs a sign they really like are just as ready to kill their king when he doesn't do what they like. They're reading the signs looking only for the physical. Many stay blind to the spiritual implications of the signs.
And it is sobering because so many times we come to Jesus more for what we want than for what we believe that we can receive from being in true relationship with him, and we see what we want and ignore the rest. But Jesus came to show us God. He came to make God known. He came to show us grace and truth. And much of that grace and truth involves showing us what we need, not pandering to what we think we want. And so do we trust God to be who we need, even if that doesn't always look like we want it to look? It's something to think about as we close this week of homework. And so we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye for now.
Bye.